Okay, now the audio is working. All right, so we're on Unit B now. So your Unit B homework, and this is not for online students, of course, but your Unit B homework is going to be Thursday before you come to class. And that's going to be the one, and we'll go over it before class is completely over. It's a little bit different from the other homework assignments. You don't post on a discussion board. You actually upload it in a document. And so there's a header that needs to be put on the top of the paper that,
Name, source, number.
yeah, all left aligned. Of course, your name at the top. And then the class section, not 1401, but your class section 2021. Your 1401-2021. And then your assignment that you're doing, so it'll be Unit B homework. So make sure that's always at the top of all your assignments when you turn it in. That way I know what it is when I download it all at one time.
Do you have a request for it to be in the left-hand corner or the right-hand corner?
I prefer the left hand, you know. Students always put it in different places.
Yeah, because a lot of my classes required in the right-hand corner. That's what I mean.
Oh, really?
Now, one class required in the left-hand corner, so that's why I asked.
No, that's fine. Just in the left-hand corner. At this point, I'd be happy if it's just on there, but since you're asking, the left-hand corner is better. So Unit B talks about computer hardware. We talk about everything in Unit B. If y'all saw the announcement that I put out, from optical disk drives to secondary storage to printers, devices, anything that you can connect to a computer system that you can actually touch and see and feel is going to be something that's tangible, and it's going to be considered hardware. Whenever you're installing something that performs a specific task on a computer, of course, that's the software. So for this unit, we focus on hardware. We examine input devices. When we did the Unit A, we kind of did a quick overview of what an input device was and an output device. So we already discussed that extensively. Input is anything you use to insert data into a system. And of course, output is going to be anything that shows you data that's been processed in a form that you can actually use. So whether it be a text document, something you print out, the monitor, what you see on the screen, some audio that's coming out of the speakers, all those things are output. We also compare printers. There are different types of printers you can use. Ones that are more commonly used at home, ones that are more commonly used in the business place, and why and what's the difference. We also introduce data storage systems and compare data storage. So why do we use one type of storage over another type? Then we also examine optical storage, which we use less and less and less, especially in the classroom setting. And also solid state storage, which we use more and more and more in the classroom setting, and we'll talk about why. And then how to expand your computer, how to upgrade things and change things on your actual system. So this is extremely basic. Most keyboards are similar. They have a typing keypad, keys with letters and numbers, and the navigation keypad. They have keys on it such as home and end and arrow keys. One thing in particular, does everybody know what the home and end key is for? Like when you use it? Exactly. And just making sure that that you know what you're using it for. Whenever you hit home, it'll return it back to the beginning of whatever document you're working on in whatever program. End will bring it to the end of it. We have arrow keys on keyboards. They can be used to move the insertion point or the cursor on the screen. So we all know what the mouse is and what it does. It's used to control an on-screen pointer. And optical mouse, we have those that have the optical readers on them. And then we have the laser mouse that we actually use. We don't necessarily use it's probably the next one, the trackball mice anymore. Anybody know why we don't use those anymore? They stick, they skip, they get stuck after you get too much dust and it's cluttered. The mouse, it'll definitely not work as efficiently as something that's optical or laser. 1 second. Those are different types of keyboards. And the first one at the top on that the smartphone is what you would call a virtual keypad. And then you have the one that's built into a laptop. And then you also have the standalone keyboard. A QWERTY keypad, just in case that you were unsure what that is, it just means that you have the full set of keys on the pad. The reason why that was such a common term that people used a lot is because before smartphones got popular, a lot of the phones didn't have the QWERTY keypads. They would have a keypad where on number 1, it had A, B, and C. Number 2 was D, C, E. And so you had to click on it 3 times to put one letter in for text and go from one thing to the next. So the big feature when everybody wanted to use it was the fact that we had QWERTY keypads, and it's like trying to pronounce the first 6 letters on the keypad, the QWERTY, QWERTY. It's not a brand name, just in case you might have been wondering. Other pointing devices that you can use is a pointing stick. That's going to be that little bitty red ball that comes on laptops that kind of looks like an eraser head sitting in the middle of a laptop. You don't see those that much anymore. That's the pointing stick. And you kind of use your first finger to move it around the screen. It wasn't that accurate when I tried to use them. It would jerk the pointer around the screen. So I don't know why people stopped using them, but they never worked right when I used them. Also, we have touchpads, also called trackpads. Those are going to be the little touchpad space you have on your laptop that allows you to use your index finger or whatever finger you choose, but normally index finger to navigate your cursor, your pointer around the screen like you would do with a mouse. And then also the trackballs. There's different types of trackballs. There's the kind that you can navigate with your thumb and the mouse is stationary. Then there's the kind that you actually move the entire mouse around. And then there's the kind you actually navigate with your index finger. Nonetheless, those types are for ergonomic use, the ones with the trackballs on top, but they get used less and less because of the dust accumulation in the dirt. Now there's those ergonomic type mouse that are out where you put your hand on top just like the trackball, but you navigate with your finger like you would do on a laptop computer. So you don't necessarily use a mechanical ball anymore. You actually use touchpad on the mouse. Other ways to input data, of course, is a touch screen, like this particular screen we're working on right here. I'm so used to it being. If I make this into a touch screen like this, it should pop up a window that allows me to. No. Usually by clicking on it. I know the keyboard will come up if I click on it. None of the options are working. There we go. It has a virtual keypad on it. And if you use the pointer pin that comes along with it, this particular key monitor turns into a dual device, input and output. It's not necessarily inserting because for whatever reason. There we go, it is working. So like if you were doing math equations or something, or you're showing students how to work out a problem or something, you can actually use it as an input device and then save the screenshot and then upload it later for students to use. What's that?
Which icon did you click on?
Well, it's the smart monitor. That only comes on these type of monitors. So it's just this little toolbar that's on the side here. It's called Smart something. I'll look it up. But normally Smart Technologies. It's not on student computers. Now I'm trying to figure out how to get it off the screen. Usually there's an option that pops up. Oh, maybe it's because I'm inside the PowerPoint. Let's get out of there. No. Okay. That's what it is. Oh, I said no. There we go. Okay. So then, let me go back. Okay. The next thing we have is a scanner. Everybody knows what a scanner is. You go ahead and put your documents on top and it'll scan it. There's all types of modern scanners that are out there. 3D scanners. There's things that scan your body in a 3D fashion, and it can actually create a real model of your body using a 3D scan. So like I was telling other students when we talk about e-commerce in the business class I teach, they are talking about different types of new online services that you can, that'll be mainstream in the future. One of them is having a 3D model of your body as an avatar. When you go into stores online, it'll actually try on clothes for you with the exact dimensions of your body. And it'll tell you that, where'd she go?
She's about a car, but she just check on you with the job of crime. She be right
Oh, okay.
there. Turn be going live, but still right here.
Yeah. Okay.
She coming right there.
Okay. Oh, I see her. I'll wait till she comes.
You got
Okay.
I don't think she. We still haven't found anyone. I apologize.
Okay.
We use an agency to
Mhm.
cover the interpreters,
Yeah.
and they're just not being really good about
Being reliable.
being reliable. And I cannot stay right now. I cannot stay. I have to go.
So like I told her, once I have the lecture, you can use closed caption on YouTube to watch it.
So you're recording it?
I'm recording right now, even though there's going to be a lot of empty space because of me waiting just now, but the lecture will be online. And she can go ahead and enable the closed caption option, and she'll be able to read it. And I'll send the link out.
Okay. I apologize. I'm so sorry.
That's fine, but she can still follow along by looking at the slides and the ones that we have there. Because I follow them exactly, so.
Okay, thanks. Sorry.
So then there's microphones. Everybody knows what a microphone is. You speak into it. It takes your audio, inputs it into the computer system. It digitizes it for you. A digital camera, it does the same thing. You take snapshots of people, of anything. You take pictures. You send it to the computer. It digitizes a version of that particular object you were taking a picture of. What was I talking about before? Oh, the whole 3D concept. That's pretty cool, how the avatar can have your exact body shape. You can also do it with your feet. So you ever wonder how a shoe's going to feel on your feet? It'll show you like little red pressure points, like if the shoe's going to be too tight across the top, or if the shirt button's going to pop open when you try it on. You know, so online you can actually see if the clothes will fit your physique the right way. Because they always have the exact dimensions of the clothing. So now adding your body to that is like next level online shopping. So there's all types of scanners. 3D scanners is going to be the wave of the future, I guess, more mainstream. And then we examine display devices. If you hear somebody say a CRT monitor, they're talking about like that one back there in the back room. It's called cathode ray tube monitors. They're typically not sold with new computer systems anymore. Yeah, they're older.
Yeah, that was the one with the picture too.
They have a picture tube in them like the old televisions do. So we have a video that we watch, I always show every semester, about e-waste. Does everybody know what e-waste is? This chapter talks about it a lot.
It's electronic waste.
Electronic waste. One of the biggest issues with electronic waste is those type of monitors, because there's no way of disposing them properly and nobody wants them anymore. So they have to be broken down, and all of the chemicals in the it's made out of what the picture tube is made out of, it's really lethal chemicals, and it's very expensive to have it broken down properly. And most of it you can't reuse. So they can reuse the plastic on it, probably the glass, but a lot of it, the chemicals, once they're combined, they can't be reused again. So we talk a lot about e-waste and how in a lot of other countries, a lot of the products that we use here are sent over there to be broken down in like really archaic manners. So you have children with high levels of lead in their system because they're just breaking it down for like $2 a day, things like that. So electronic waste has become a lot more prevalent. It's always been around, but when we came into this technological boost in the 90s and the early 2000s, people changed devices very quickly. They're very cheap to change. And the reason why it doesn't affect us here as much because we don't produce any of this equipment. We consume it. We don't produce any of it. There's no plants here where we create, computer systems and all that stuff is coming from other countries. So the companies who are creating it, they're not responsible for the end product. They're not responsible for the disposal of it and how people actually get rid of the products after they don't need them anymore. So it's like save a tree by not sending an email and printing it on paper or whatever, but you send an email, it actually accumulates the electronic waste. So you really can't win with that whole thing. But people think they are when they don't kill a tree. They're like, we're saving the environment, but you sent out an email to let us know. And the minute that computer gets old, you're going to want a new one. So it's kind of like the same idea. Technology is commonly used for computer display devices or liquid crystal display. That's the screens are found with desktop computers and notebook computers. So your laptop has a liquid crystal display, the LCD monitors you hear, the most common name. That just means that the substance inside is made with liquid crystal, and that it uses light as a refractor to give you a picture on the screen. By that being an option, one of the older options was plasma television. So if you think about it, plasma screens, plasma as opposed to liquid crystal is a lot more heavy than liquid crystal is, and it also burns images a lot faster than what a liquid crystal display would do. So like if you have like a DVD player and the DVD symbol stays on the screen, you go to another channel and that symbol will kind of be burned onto the screen. That's less likely to happen with the LCD monitor because of the way the technology works. More likely with plasma.
So why they charge you more for the plasma?
It's the opposite way. They charge you more for the LCD. No, they charge you more for the LCD. You can get the plasmas cheap.
I don't know about that now. I bought a plasma screen.
You can check Walmart right now. You'll see plasmas. You can get them almost half the price, same size that you can get for LCD.
I was one of the kind of people when they first came out.
When they first came out, people didn't know that. They were very expensive when they first came out. Now, plasmas have dropped significantly, and LCDs are the ones you'll pay more money for.
Do LCDs have like a lifespan like plasma, like how there's a certain amount of hours before?
No, it doesn't because of the way the technology is. It has a lifespan, but it's not as short as plasmas are. That's another thing. It's the weight of it. It's the burning of the objects on the screen.
They get extremely hot.
And they get very hot. They'll heat up a room. And then it's also the fact that they have a lifespan on how long you can actually use them. Yeah, pretty much right after the warranty expires. Yeah, right after the warranty expires. And so when they first came out, they were like $3,000 upward dollars for a 50-something inch television. But then that price, you can go to Walmart and get a 52-inch plasma for like $700, not probably less than that.
Yeah.
And but the technology has improved though. That lifespan on it still exists, but it doesn't burn objects to the screen as much. It actually, over the LCD, shows a smoother picture. LCD pictures are usually a little bit more choppy and pixelated, but it depends on, if you're using HD television or HDMI cables, how your picture shows on each one of the devices. And we also call those flat panel displays, which is different from flat screen televisions. There were flat screen televisions that came out first, and then there were flat panels. Flat screen just meant that the screen was flat. It was still a tube television. And then flat panel mean that the whole entire system was a flatter, slim version. It didn't have a tube in it anymore. So we also have the OLED lights, organic light emitting diodes used by most handheld devices. So that's what you'll find with your smartphones or PDAs if you were ever using one. Normally you find liquid crystal display in devices that are right outside of smartphones. So probably like your touch screen monitors, your touch screen devices like iPads, things like that, and then laptops too. But for the smaller devices, they tend to use the organic light emitting diodes, the OLED. And this is an example of an LED monitor and an LCD, which you can't really tell the difference looking at the picture on the screen here. Yeah, I don't know. I do remember one as being a real glossy screen, the LED one. Yeah, but I don't know if that's the difference, so don't quote me on that. It's something that we can Google later just to make sure that we know the difference on it. But yeah, there's no main difference here with these pictures. And then there's display devices. You have to get down to whenever you display a device, you're using a graphics card to do it. So it contains a circuitry that generates the signal for displaying an image on the screen. So it's like if you plug up a monitor to your computer, it has to know what type of device it is and what you want the computer to actually do with it. So in order for it to know, it has to have a graphics card installed. They can look all types of ways. I forgot to bring that little motherboard over today. It can be embedded into the motherboard like it's going to be when it comes to a laptop computer, or also when you buy a computer and you're using the stock version of it, it's called an onboard device. You can also add a graphics card, so you can have a digital display if you want to change the display you have on your system, and you would do that by using the PCI slots that are in the back of the computer. So you know the PCI slots, that's your expansion slots when you want to upgrade and add things to your computer. So a graphics card can be standalone, it can be onboard, either way. The response rate is important with a graphics card, mostly because if you're a person that does any type of gaming or use Second Life or use Sims or something that takes up a lot of memory from your video card, you're going to have to upgrade and get a newer video card that has more memory on it and a faster processing speed, so it can show you the images as they actually happen. If you use something that is not compatible to the programs you're working in, it'll definitely hiccup, and it'll be kind of a latent effect to it. It's how fast the screen updates the information being displayed. So it's kind of like what they call latency, how long it takes for your computer to go from point A to point B, then back to point A again. So you send out a signal to tell it what you want to see. It goes to the object and sends it back to you. It has to have a really fast processing speed to show you those things in real time when you're dealing with robust software that take up a lot of memory. So not only is it using the processor and memory on the motherboard that comes with the computer, you need added memory and added processing speed by using an extra video card, updated video card. Resolution, that's the maximum number of horizontal and vertical pixels that are displayed on a computer, on a screen. So the poorer the resolution is, that means the less lines that are being used. Normally, if you're looking at pictures, it'll start showing pixelation if you try to blow up a picture larger than what the resolution is capable of. When we talk about printing, it's kind of the same concept. With resolution, it's related to the lines that you have in a vertical and horizontal way. When you talk about pictures, it works with like dots per inch. So every inch of the picture, if it's a good resolution, it has a whole lot of dots per inch. If you have more dots, it's going to make a more solid, more clear and vivid image. If you have a fewer dots per inch, it's going to make a very, it's not going to be vivid. It's going to be kind of a shallow image. So you'll notice that too, like if you're purchasing printers or you're purchasing a monitor, it's always important to look at the dots, the DPI on it, and it'll be, the resolution is the DPI, so it'll be 1200 by something else. Also, when you change the resolution on your desktop computer, depending on the type of monitor that you're using, it's only going to let you change the resolution that's going to meet the desktop on your system. Now, you can lower the resolution, and it will look poor if you do that to the monitor that you're using. So think of resolution as the number of vertical and horizontal pixels that are displayed, and when the picture is the same concept, but it's how many dots per inch.
Is the response rate to FPS, or like frames per second?
I believe so, like when you're doing video editing. Yeah, it's how many frames that are delivered back to you per second. When you're buying video editing software, that's something important to remember too, because it'll give you the amount of the quality video card and the specs that you need for it to run smoothly.
Yeah, that's what my mom does for like audio, video editing. And
Oh, really? Oh, cool. Yeah, I went to school for film video. Used to do a lot of video production. I haven't touched it in years though, but I used to do it.
free monitors like that.
Oh, she used Final Cut Pro, Adobe Premiere.
She used a lot of Photoshop, Dreamweaver.
Dreamweaver. CS3 or 4 or 5. Yeah, because they're going up with the numbers now.
Like she's up in Alaska. She goes to Chicago 3 times a year to Vegas. Has to read all the magazines and stuff. So.
Oh, that sounds cool. Yeah. Definitely frames per second. And you can't, if you're editing video, you definitely can't use a cheap video card. It just won't work out for you. The response rate will be too slow. You won't even see your video in real time. Pixel, the picture element, a single point, or the smallest unit on a graphic image. So the smallest unit inside of a graphic image is going to be a pixel. The smallest you can break it down to is a pixel. So it's going to be microscopic. It's not something that you can see with your naked eye unless you magnify it to a very, very, very large view. But a pixel is going to be the single smallest point in a graphic image. Depending on how many pixels and how tight they are together, the more pixels, the tighter they are, the more vivid the picture is going to be. Then we have screen size. Just like television, screen size measurement in inches from one corner diagonally to opposite corner. I didn't know this when I was young. I used to always think, oh, 50-inch TV, you know, you don't go up and down. That's way bigger than what they want to give you, but it's a diagonal. So a lot of times the screen can look smaller than what they say, but it's the diagonal that's being measured, of course. And a lot of men are, you know, because you know about your television, so you know that when they say that the screen size, they're talking about diagonally. Your dot pitch, that's the measure of the image quality or clarity that you're using. So depending on the dot pitch that you have on your image, the better the quality is, the higher the dot pitch. Color depth or bit depth, that's the number of colors that a monitor and a graphics card can display. So you'll see the option to change the color depth and bit depth inside of your monitor options when you're personalizing it, and you go to where you can pick the resolution and the background screen and things like that. It'll ask you what type of color depth you want to use or bit depth. And you have to pick the depth that's going to match the monitor which you're using. So the quality at the level of monitor that you're using. Generally, these things are defaulted. That's why most people don't touch them. Generally, you'll get a display that's comparable to the monitor you're using. The only time you generally have to change it is when you're installing an operating system from scratch. And when you first load it, the operating system is going to use its default display. And you have to go in and tell it to, this is the type of monitor. Once you install the drivers for the monitor, your video card, it's going to say, this is the top resolution you can use. But before that, it doesn't really know. So it might be kind of big and it may be kind of pixelated, the coloring may be off, but once you install the drivers for the video card that you're using, then the monitor will display at the best quality that that particular monitor can handle. A computer monitor can be used to watch TV. We already know that. I think that's, you know, basic info. And the reason why is because there was some computers probably about a decade ago that were called media centers, and they used to have actual coax cables. You could plug your cable directly into the television and watch TV through it. But what is a big reason why we don't need that anymore? Netflix, Hulu, we have web-based TV viewing now. ABC, NBC, all the major companies put their television online. So you have no reason to be plugging up a coax cable into the, and that was before we had the 70 megabytes per second wireless connections too. Wireless was very slow, so it was unheard of to try to let TV travel with a wireless computer connection from one place to the next. It wouldn't have given you a good screen. So kind of all of these things, some technologies you have to watch them because they're in between technologies. They come out and then something even better comes out like right the year behind it. So if you bought a media center computer, you had a big computer with the coax connection for cable and DVD burners on it and all of the video, all of the memory cards they used to sell, they had a slot for every single one. It was really a junky looking machine. And you had that, and then the next year, you didn't need it anymore.
Yeah, 2 years later, the wireless came out.
Wireless, and then you get to where you have the card readers that just plug in USB, so you don't need a slot for every one on your computer. Definitely so. Some technologies are in between, so you watch them a little bit sometimes so you can get the most up-to-date thing for your money. Then we have inkjet printers. Those are small, lightweight, inexpensive, produces very good quality color output. Ink cartridges can be expensive. The difference with an inkjet printer from a laser printer is that one uses actual lasers to print out your document, the other one uses ink. Lasers and toner, and the other one uses ink. You can produce a lot better picture for mass printing larger documents using a laser printer, like this one. That actually uses toner cartridges. And it just literally uses the laser to kind of burn the toner to the page to create your image. The inkjet, it uses ink, of course, to scribe your image, and you can actually hear it working With this one kind of, it's more like a copy machine. You can hear it output, but you won't hear it actually putting the images on the page. With an inkjet printer, you can hear that. You can hear the ink cartridges going back and forth on the document. With something like this, you don't hear that, and it can produce images at a much faster rate per second. Always when you're buying a printer, always look at the prints per minute, ppms, I believe, to make sure that if you want a high-speed printer, that you're not getting something that prints 5 sheets per minute, as opposed to something that may print about 30 to 40 sheets per minute. You know, home use would be different. Laser printer used in situations which require high volume output or good quality printouts. They require a toner cartridge, your refills, or replacements. What I noticed when I used to sell computers a long time ago in Circuit City, like when they actually still had appliances in Circuit City, so that was a long time ago, is that when people were coming by printers, it was more important to look at how much the ink is going to cost rather than how much the printer actually cost that first day. Because you'll have to keep buying it, and some of the ink was so expensive that the printer was $40, but the ink to refill it was like $60, $70. So they would buy printers according to how cheap the ink was going to be. That is the reason why now you can find printers for like $19 and $20 because they know that that ink is upwards of $35, $40 whenever you want to replace it. That doesn't even include the color. I buy ink for my printer. The printer was only $19, yeah, but I have to keep. And you see how that makes sense for a company to get you into their device? Once you're into their device, then you'll buy their ink and you'll be a much longer customer with that product than the actual printer. A lot of companies are doing that these days. You'll get Kindles for cheaper and cheaper price because they want you to use Kindle services to download your books through them. You'll see a lot of services where they almost give you the device for free just so you can use what you're going to pay monthly for or every so often. If you make the device an expensive one, that's only a one-time payment to them. You put them in a device for free, then they'll have to pay your service fees every month. Cell phone companies do that. Kindles, you'll see electronic equipment getting cheaper and cheaper. What gets more expensive is the actual upkeep of that particular device. So this is an example of an inkjet printer. You see where you have the little, it looks like a, I don't know, an HP. It might not be, but it has a little ink cartridge for the color and the black and white, and then a laser printer like this one we have in class here. Printer resolution that determines the quality of printed output. It measures in dots per inch, so DPI. I kind of skipped ahead with that one. So like if you're printing out pictures, it'd be the same thing. How many dots per inch will tell you how well the quality of the picture is going to be. Printer speed is going to be pages per minute. I just discussed what that was a second ago. How many pages your actual printer can print per minute. Options for connecting a printer to a computer is going to be USB, your serial port, parallel port, or a network port. Now we know we don't use serial ports or parallel ports at all anymore. This machine here actually has a serial and a parallel port on the back of it. Most of our printers these days have wireless that comes along with them. I did the coolest thing over the weekend. Now, it may seem antiquated for a lot of people because they use technology a lot, but I was on my cell phone and I connected to my sister's printer, and I was printing my pictures directly to her device. Now, you know that's been an option, but it's nothing cooler than actually doing it. And it says, found the printer, and then it just starts, you know, get the IP address. So then you have to print a configuration page from the printer. You get the IP address from the printer, put it in your phone, so every time I go over there, I can just print pictures directly from my cell phone. It's been an option, but it's cool when you actually do it. And you're standing in the house in the front, and you press print, and you hear it printing upstairs. You're like, hey, and it's from my cell phone. You know, it's pretty interesting. So, parallel ports are network ports. So we already know that this one has like all of the options on it, except for the USB option. This is a little bit older, that's why you get to see all of those parts on it. Normally printers just have wireless and USB on it, and if it's a high volume, it may have a network port on it. Network-enabled printers just mean that they have a network card installed in them. That means that you can print to them on a network from several different computers. It means that either they're wirelessly networked or either they're wired. They have an IP address of their own. The IP address that comes with printers that have network cards in them, network interface cards that come with NICs, they have to have a static IP address. You know the difference between a static and a dynamic IP address?
Yes, it
A dynamic means every time you turn the device off and on, when it gets on the internet, it finds a new IP address every time.
does. Static meaning
It stays. It uses the same one. So printers have to be programmed with static IP addresses because whenever you log on to the computers, it's okay for the computers to have dynamic addresses, but it needs to be able to find this printer every single time. It would be a lot of work for students to have to search out the printer in the database of hundreds of printers that we have here on campus every single time to log on to the printer and see what the new IP address is and then install it on a system from there. This way, it always has the same path and it can go straight back to this printer to print every single time. And it also enables you, of course, to have multiple printers at one time, multiple people printing to one printer at one time. And then we also have photo printers, which there's a combination of it. Most of your regular printers can print photos now. It used to be a separate device. Way back when I worked at Circuit City and they had appliances, there were these little Kodak with a docking station, and you put your camera on top of it and the picture spit out. And it actually did it in 3 different colors. It did the cyan first, then the yellow color, and then the red color. And it would stick it back in and shoot back out till you got a final picture. So customers were able to come in the store and see it, and the picture took like maybe 3 to 5 minutes to finish its whole printing job. And we know now that you can print those pictures out and it takes the same amount of time it takes to print any color document. So that's it with printers. Then we have data storage systems. Random access memory, that's going to be RAM. Usually I have a little memory stick to show students just in case you're not sure how it looks. That's normally what we used to use, and I'll explain what exactly memory is. We used to actually have to upgrade that a whole lot more in our systems than what we do now. Generally now you can go to Walmart and buy the bottom of the barrel computer system, and it'll have enough memory on it, enough RAM in it, to be able to handle any type of software that you're running on it. So people don't necessarily upgrade memory as much as they used to because their systems are better now when they buy them from the store. You don't have like, this is the low grade, this is the medium. All of them are top notch pretty much, even the cheap ones. They can run really good high level software. Random access memory is used to store data temporarily. It's called volatile memory because when you log onto your computer, what stays in your random access memory is whatever programs are open at that particular time. Once you close that particular piece of software or program, then the memory drops the information for that program. It's so you can quickly access the features of the program, and everything is waiting for you to be able to click on objects in the program, open toolbars, run processes. It keeps it up front for you. It's called volatile because it's not loyal at all. So I guess that's the term volatile, I guess. It's not loyal at all. It's loyal to only the programs that are open at that specific time. It's not like ROM on the other hand, and I don't even know if we discussed that in this class. ROM stays the same, read-only memory. It's only meant to tell your computer how to boot up, what starts first, to carry you over to opening up the operating system. It never changes. It can't change because your computer needs those same instructions when you hit the power button every time. So it's called non-volatile, and it's loyal to its purpose. Data storage system is made up of a storage medium. So it can be a hard drive, it can be a tape. We don't even use that anymore, but this book will talk about a lot of stuff. It can be memory cards, it can be a flash drive, a jump drive, a thumb drive, USB drive, whatever they're calling it right now. A CD or a DVD, etc. Those are different types of storage mediums. They don't do anything but store information. That's it. They don't run any processes or change anything on your system. All they're there as far as to store information. They hold data. A storage device is equipment that stores and retrieves data from its storage medium. So depending on which type of device you're using, it's going to be a different way that it accesses the media. So if you're using like an optical disc or something, your device is going to be the actual optical drive, and then your medium is going to be a CD or a DVD. So you retrieve the information using the storage device. And this gives you some examples here. There's a removable hard drive, a flash drive, and a DVD, CD drive. And then all of those different solid state storage cards that we don't really use anymore. We kind of hung on to the SD, the secure digital cards. We don't really use the other ones anymore. And then there's a card reader there that has a bunch of different options for you to be able to plug in USB and retrieve information from different cards. First you have your hard drive. That's going to be like your primary storage. Whenever we talk about secondary storage, this is how it goes. Most people feel like a hard drive should be called the primary storage, but it's not. It's called a secondary storage. The primary storage on your computer is going to be the memory, because the computer feels that even without a hard drive, you can boot a computer up, but it won't boot up to any operating system. So there's something being stored there without a hard drive being connected to the system. So that's the primary storage, is going to be the memory. The secondary storage devices, hard drives, fall underneath that category. That's the preferred type of main storage for most computer systems. Additional storage devices used with computers are CDs, DVDs. What's a BD?
BD, Blu-ray.
Blu-ray disc? Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it Blu-ray?
I read that.
Good. No, I'm surprised because this book talks about a lot of old stuff, so I didn't think Blu-ray would be.
Blu-ray.
Good. And, a little bit better than DVDs, of course. They store, like, I think, 3 times the amount of information a DVD can store, so that's why they give you such a vivid picture. But, yeah, I'm sorry. I put it way past this book. I said, I know they're not talking about Blu-rays, so good thing you read that. USB flash drives, and then solid-state drives, and solid-state card readers. Let me see if I jump ahead. Is it going to say it? The difference between a solid-state storage and like a hard drive is going to be the fact that hard drives have mechanical moving parts on the inside of them, and solid-state storage devices do not. So you can treat them much more poorly, drop them on the floor, put them in the bottom of your backpack, things like that, and then plug them into a device, and it'll still show you your info. If you try to do that to a hard drive with the mechanical moving parts on the inside, you probably would kill it with the first drop, because that's how delicate the insides of a hard drive is. That's not a solid state. You have random access, also called direct access. They can jump directly to the requested data. So depending on what type of data storage that you're using, random access is better than optical. Well, random access can be used with optical drives too, and it's definitely used in the hard drive. There are readers, I just can't think of like an older reader that makes you go through process in order to access memory. Most everything we use now is random access. It allows you to go straight to the actual file or folder that you're requesting to see open. I'll think about that a little bit and see. Oh, sequential access. They read through the data from the beginning to the end. I haven't really seen anything operate like this since the older computer systems we used to work on. I'll look up and see what type of systems actually did sequential. Sequential makes you access things in a particular order every time, and random access allows you to skip directly to what you're looking for. So, of course, random access is quicker than a sequential access. Then we also use magnetic storage. It stores data by magnetizing microscopic particles on the disk or tape surface. So, you can always tell that a CD is burned or a DVD is burned, usually by looking on the back and seeing if it has those little microscopic particles. And it'll be a little bit darker than the parts of the disk that's not have anything burned on it. Hard drives and tapes also do magnetic storage. We don't use tapes anymore. It's not talking about tapes like that goes in cameras. It's talking about those magnetic tapes that you used to put inside of computers and store information.
I remember that.
I was going to say, it's before my time, but I know that it existed.
Back in the 80s, I remember and they had an IBM plant.
Exactly.
Magnetic tape with the robot that goes around to different departments and pick up the mic.
See, y'all had the high tech going on. You had the robot going around.
Come pick up the film.
Come pick it up, yeah. So it just stored information like the same way that a camcorder with a mini DV tape would store information, but it was for computer usage.
Yeah, I know with a big old tower computer, you come in and put the tape on one side and you
That's pretty interesting.
It was crazy back in them days.
I know you see where there's a whole lot of stuff that's used to do like one task. That's what you'll notice about older systems. We were dying to use computers even if it took one process, a whole entire room of computer space to fill up to complete the process. We just wanted to use them, And of course, if it turns into what we have now, handheld devices. So this is a diagram showing you how magnetic storage actually works. It's like, so randomly scattered particles, then it magnetizes the particles, the read-write head actually reads them, and then a disk surface is on top. It actually puts the particles in order, and that's what turns into your burned objects or your burned information on actual disk. Then we have comparing data storage systems. Optical storage is one stores data as microscopic light and darkened spots on a disk surface, CDs, DVDs, Blu-ray discs. I thought we just covered that, but okay. Solid state storage stores data. It was on the last slide, right? Okay. Solid state storage stores data in a non-volatile, erasable, low power chip. So those are going to be like your SD cards, your, what other kind of cards called? It used to be a memory stick. We mostly use SD, the micro, the mini, and then the regular size.
It wouldn't be the video card.
No, it's not going to be the video cards. Some hard drives, compact storage cards. Okay, yeah, that's it. Compact storage, thumb drives, flash drives, and memory sticks. Not the memory sticks like a RAM stick. It's like those little memory sticks like the SD cards. They go inside of card readers. They kind of look like about the size of a USB drive. They used to be used in cameras a lot, but mostly cameras come with SD cards now. Or either they have internal storage for the most part, I noticed, and you send everything wirelessly to like your cell phone and all that. So I noticed I didn't get an SD card with my new phone. It's because it doesn't exist, because it has a hard drive that's big enough to store the information that I want. And I can wirelessly send it anywhere I want to send it. So this is the different levels of an actual optical storage. And I won't go through each one of them. But if you want to look at it, there's a diagram. Semi-transparent reflective layer, laser beams, recording layer, old polycarbonate substrate. Pretty interesting. What's interesting to me is this thing, it tells you what a keyboard is, this PowerPoint, and that it's what has numbers on it and alphabets, and then it tells you every layer of the recording optical device. That's a huge jump of computer knowledge for students to go from one thing to the next. Then examining optical storage, there's CD-ROM, which means read-only technology. Also true for DVD-ROMs. Those are CDs. Once you burn them, they're read-only discs. Most of the time, CD-ROM discs will come with like books or something or manuals. You'll get a CD-ROM that comes along with it, and all you can do is read the information on it. You can't delete it. You can't do anything. You can't format it. You can't save anything to the disc. All you can do is read it. CDR means that the CD recordable technology, also true for DVD-Rs, DVD plus Rs, and Blu-ray disc minus R. CDRW means CD rewritable technology. People don't use those as much as they did a while ago. It's just CDs that you're able to write information on and then erase it and then rewrite again. But to do that process, it actually burns it, and that takes a few minutes. Then it unburns it, then that takes a few minutes, and then you burn again if you want to burn something new to it. There's also continuous, if you burn CDs, there's also a continuous burning option whenever you burn CDs that didn't used to be there when they first came out. So it's like if you have a regular CDR, you can tell it, do you want to add information to this CD later? And you can leave it open-ended and allow it to be used again for more burning of more things added to the CD. Or you can close it out, which finalizes it. And once the CD or DVD is finalized, there's nothing you can do with it from there. It's permanently, information's permanently stored. A computer system can have a CD drive, a DVD drive, or a Blu-ray disc drive. And there's an optical reader. It shows the tracking mechanism on the disc, also the laser lens that sits on the disc, the laser pickup next to it, and then the drive spindle that spins the disc around and allows you to access the information that's on the disc. Solid-state storage technology stores data in non-volatile, erasable, low-power chip used in digital cameras, MP3 players, or for transporting data. We talked about that already. Mostly comes in like your phones, little miniature SD cards, mini, micro, and then the regular size. Wide range of solid-state memory cards or the compact flash multimedia cards, secure digital. I don't really see any besides this secure digital anymore. That's just kind of, I guess, the industry standard at this point. I need to find out why the other ones went out of commission, why we don't use them as often anymore. And these are some pictures, some examples of those different types of drives. Then we have card readers. Everybody is aware what that is. It requires to transfer data to and from a computer using a solid state storage card. So we used to have card readers to transfer information. Like I say now, you can plug a USB up to your device and just transfer information directly from the device. You don't need a middleman such as a card reader. And then flash drive, they incorporate the memory and the reader into one device. USB flash drive, they're easily transportable from one computer to another. Really big before networking became so popular. Expansion ports, that's the connector that passes data between a computer and a peripheral device. So in order for the computer to know what type of device you're actually hooked up, you have to have some type of an expansion card added to the system when you add something new. The card, no matter what type of card it is, whether it's a video card, a network card, an audio card, it's what tells the computer what type of device that you're plugging into the system. It's the middleman. It tells it the computer what operation needs to happen next, what type of device it is. An expansion card is a small circuit board that makes it possible for the computer to communicate with the peripheral device. So if there's no options to plug in a device, then there's no communication amongst the device and the computer. Expansion bus, that's the segment of the data bus between the RAM and the peripheral devices. Bus is just those little bitty copper or gold streets, what I call them, on a motherboard. I like to look at a motherboard. It kind of looks like a city. If you look at a city from a large scope, a circuit board kind of has the same effect. The bus is the information, that's the avenue in which the information transfers from one device to the next. And here's an option, an example of some onboard cards that are built into a motherboard. So the motherboard is laying there flat, and so the cards that you have that are built on board the system is going to be these where there's the red arrows pointing at. So like, that's the old printer, the pink one, the mouse. We don't even use that for our mouse and keyboard anymore. The serial, the PS2 ports. And then Ethernet, of course, and USB serial ports, parallel ports, and then our speaker, microphone, and headphone jacks. For the most part, I see the speaker and the microphone jacks hanging around the longest. I know there's an option to do like USB, but for the most part, the computers are still coming with that port and not with only USB. And now you find a lot more, of course, USB slots on your systems. Generally, they come with like 10 if I look at the ones in the store, which is a lot. They used to come with 2 or 3. An expansion slot, long narrow socket on the motherboard in which you can plug an expansion card. When I actually show a motherboard, I guess I'll bring one next class, you can see the expansion slots where you would snap in a card to extend the functionality of your computer. A device driver, everybody knows what a driver is. In order to install a new device on your computer, you have to tell the computer what type of device it is, software-wise. The expansion card works hardware-wise, but then software-wise, it needs to know. So in order for it to know, you need to install drivers that tell the system, this is the HP 1600 printer. This is what the functionality is. It can do this, this, that, and that. Now, if you install a driver that doesn't fit your system, but it's in the same family, you'll probably be able to print. But if it's something that's supposed to have more functionality, you probably won't get the extra functionality out of it because it's the wrong driver for the system.
Now don't plug and play, eliminate a lot of this problem.
Some of it, but everything is not going to be plug and play. Because if you notice what plug and play is, it's a certain amount of drivers of the most commonly used devices installed in the system. So like if the device you're using isn't installed automatically in the system, then you'll have to install your own drivers. But for the most part, any type of keyboard or mouse you use is going to be plug and play. A lot of HP printers, if you notice HP printers, a lot of those are plug and play. You plug them right in, it says HP 1600, blah, 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 If it's next level equipment where it has a lot of functionality, generally you'll need drivers to install to make it work.
So now the drivers are more like software.
It is software, yeah. Drivers, yeah. It's, we're talking about the basic software and then
I remember
System
back in-
software, drivers is the type of system
I
software.
remember back in the old days, where even the keyboards, you had to have software.
Exactly. And then eventually we got away from having to have software because it was too common of a device to install software in. Then it got tricky with people having to install software on a device that they're trying to actually use to navigate through software. So you want to make it easier for end users or home users. It's best to have those embedded inside the operating system. So you only have to wait maybe about 15 seconds for it to recognize the device, and then it'll go ahead and be operable. USB. Now, if you were using the OPS 2 ports for a mouse and a keyboard, you had to boot it up with those plugged in already because they initiate at boot up. USB lets you plug in, while your system's already running. USB Universal Serial Bus port used for connecting many peripheral devices. It's kind of the standard right now. FireWire came in a little bit for like video editing, video production purposes because it had speeds faster than the USB 1.0. Then USB 2.0 came out shortly after the 1.0, and FireWire is like right in between those two speeds. So we didn't really get wrapped up into the FireWire that much. And so this is it on your chapter. The talking points for this chapter is why we recycle computers. When we talk about U.S. landfills, how they already hold more than 2 million tons of computer parts. Your homework for this section is actually on electronic waste and how it affects people locally, any type of story around the world, any type of electronic waste. Computer parts contain toxic substances such as lead, phosphorus, and mercury. Better options for disposing of computers. Sell it, donate it, recycle it, or send it back to the manufacturer. Well, you'll find out, I just showed this video, I'm not going to do it today, when we come back to class, that sending it back to the manufacturer is not always what it is, or recycling is not always what it is. So they say that's what they're going to do with it, but that's not always what they do with the product. About half of the states in the U.S. have taken legislative action to deal with the problem. So the ideal resolution would be to pay people to work in factories here to break it down in the most responsible way. But it's very expensive to break down the equipment and then reuse it. It's almost not even worth it sometimes, unless you can get it broken down for people that work $2 a day. So that's what makes it profitable. If it's not profitable, I don't care how good it is for the environment, most major companies won't do it.
Trailer in some Mexico.
Any questions about? Yeah, now you know. Because you can't get people here to work for $2 a day, can you?
A lot of the guys, we kept arguing with some of the contractors that we were wanting to donate them to schools. So when we started telling them that, they started giving us more than we could handle.
Yeah.
Like we worked for a company right up the street called Alcatel.
Okay.
And Alcatel had like 14 buildings, and one day they called us and asked us could we pick up the computers for 8 buildings.
Oh.
Yeah, so we had like a drive for Richardson High School that we gave away. So many of them the teachers came out in the parking lots and picked out what they wanted, but the rest of it we wound up having to put them on tractor trailers, send them to Mexico.
Well, it started off as a,
as
a good, but there's so much of this equipment, and we all know, like, if you this business class I teach, the efficiency in the business intelligence, what they call it, that means the technology you're using, the information that your company has access to. Your company is only as good as the business intelligence that it has. And if it doesn't have the most modern and up-to-date business intelligence, then you fall behind. You can be the best company in the city, you can do the best service, you can be the most reliable, but if you can't reach your customer base, if you don't have the most modern equipment, if you don't have the best website, if you don't have the best payment options and all those things that come with newer equipment, then you're just as good as not even being there. So that's why companies would not want to change equipment that often. They don't have a choice if they want to stay competitive.
Yeah, and they like Alcatel is like AT&T for Germany.
Okay, yeah.
So they campus was over here for the training. They just kept changing computers like it went.
Yeah, they just don't have a choice because the major companies are definitely ahead of the game with a lot of the technology because they have the resources to keep flipping out equipment like that. So in order for you to be competitive, you have to keep up with the latest of everything. You know, trying to find a competitive edge. Well, Anyway, so the summary for this chapter is that it introduces components of the computer hardware, computer storage system, expanding the computer hardware you use with a computer, and how we dispose of computer hardware. If you look at the homework, it talks about addressing these things in a short essay.
Yeah, half a page.
Yeah, I mean, that's so vague. You know, we didn't write this stuff. I mean, it's like half a page. You got to give students word counts. 400 words or more. That's the way I would design an assignment, not half a page. But half a page can be, don't use 14 fonts. Yes, or triple the double space, 14 fonts. Don't do that.
20 font and double space.
This is a prime example of
Uh,
communication amongst people that create things and people that actually have to use them. In business, that's a big deal. You can't have IT departments that don't talk to the marketing department. Because they're like, we artisan new equipment, can y'all install it? And then you go to look at it and they're like, well, you can't install this. It's not compatible with the network. This is kind of like that. This is not compatible with the way students think. If you say half a page, they'll use a 14-point font and they'll use a bold font and they'll double space it. And really, they won't be in the wrong. So you want to make sure you do that correctly. And make sure you find those 2 places that are near you that recycle. And we'll watch this really, really good video on e-waste next class. And then we'll do some talking points on it for Unit B. But just remember, Unit B is due before class next week. Any questions? Y'all are good?
no question, but
What's the biggest thing that affects CPU usage?
What do you mean?
Like CPU usage, like if it's going slow, like whenever I control it, I don't know if it's like RAM or if it's like video card or if there's too much stuff.
Well, that's
System.
it's fragmented.
it can be so many things, because you're talking about the central processing unit.
Yeah, but what's CPU mean? I mean, CPU usage is like computer something usage. Yeah.
Central processing unit. Yeah. So you're looking at the 3 main chips on the board, the processor, and then the 2 supporting, the ROM, and then the other supporting chip. It can be a plethora of things. You can have too much software installed in a computer. You can have too many files, and it needs to be defragged, like he said. You can have where the load needs to be lightened from the processor and have some more memory added to the system. You can have too many programs starting at startup, and you have to go ahead and go on the start with the computer and eliminate some programs. You can have a virus, and that'll slow down the CPU, the central processing unit,
Yeah.
because usually that's the first thing a virus does. It can be a lot of things with that.
I was just curious if it's like a main thing that comes to it.
No, it's always going to be a whole bunch of things that it can be.
Because like I'm kind of thinking like you used to think. I used to think this complete box was just a CPU, but the CPU is on the chip.
Only 3,
Yeah.